what does the Bible say about lawsuits? Do we as Christians need to do it to follow Christians when we have tried to resolve a problem unsuccessfully?
Yes, the best thing to do, there are permissive will of God and perfect will of God. The perfect will of God would have been for Christians to resolve the issues among themselves and not to go to the lawsuits and the courts of the, of the world. But when things are not being resolved amicably among Christians, Christians are also carnal. Christians are also, sinful, stubborn, and earthly sometimes. So as a result of that, this law of the land will be the only other resolution, the only other, avenue to go to.
Okay, so it's not a sin if a believer takes another believer.
It's not a sin, but it might not be the best thing because it's going to cause you a lot of stress as well as the other person. So you could easily have avoided all the stress that will be involved. So that's why the perfect will of God to have done it amicably in the church would have been a much more peaceful way rather than going to the more stressful way of permissive will of God. And not just in the area of court, all other area that is permissive will always have more consequences for you. So it is as a result of that, just for your own goodwill, that it's always better to follow the perfect will of God.
Pastor, but what can you say about, let's say, a denomination that probably they are fighting over authority in the denomination, like it's a big denomination, and they are taking themselves to court to judge who is supposed to be maybe the head of the church, and who maybe they say this person rigged the election and all that, and it's a church election. What do you have to say about that?
It means that that church and the leadership and the people who are fighting for those positions, they are more carnal and more earthly than heavenly.
Okay.
Since they are fighting for position, and Jesus said, he that wants to be the first should be the last.
Right.
And now the ones that say, no, I want to be the first by force. It means they are more earthly, because the Bible says that it is the earthly lords that do that. So, it just means the state of the church has fallen, and the church is now at a state where they are more worldly than they are heavenly.
Okay. Let's say, for instance, it's just an example. You were in that shoe, and probably you know that this was rigged. What will you do?
I've been in that shoe many times. Just recently, this year, I had about a number of my churches were leaving. Pastors left me. And the reason they left was because I was saying I was going to Africa, and, I was supposed to give the church, Anyway, just internal disagreements and tussles, and then they started a big scandal and things just because people want to gain their own, whatever they want to gain. So as a result, people left. According to the law of the land, if you are supposed to leave, you are supposed to live by yourself. You shouldn't take my congregation with you. But these people are living, stealing the congregation and everything with them.
Okay.
But, because it's not my congregation at the end of the day. And I recognize that why should I fight for congregation or for people or for building or for anything? I would rather let it go. The Bible said it's better for you to rather be at a loss than God will compensate you. So if you believe God more than the earthly reward you can receive here, if you are going to be fighting for, because people are normally fighting for things they see,
right?
Visible things, because that's what they believe in. But if you believe more in the invisible things, you will let go of physical things, because the physical things are temporal at the end of the day. And, all of us are going to inherit heaven, which is invisible right now. And that is the greatest reward.
Wow. Awesome. Thank you for the answer, Pastor.
How is that awesome? Or is just a statement?
It's not just a statement, because who would really do that? Because that's actually one of the problems major ministries have that make them want to cage their people, suppress them, and all that. The fear of this, all right?
Oh,
because
okay.
It's more like my members, my church, and everything. So maybe some pastors will have laid curse on them, do some things that will be out of place. But to say, okay, I'm letting them go, not just that they are going with the church, but go with the building, go with everything, it's You know, it's not something that is common. Probably if the person that is so kind or probably so heavenly conscious might let them go and bless them, but definitely not with his church and with the church property and with the members. So that's why I was like, it's awesome. It's from a different perspective.
But no, that's the only perspective that's supposed to be.
Okay.
And the reason is because we live by faith, not by what we see. Mm-hmm. And without faith, you cannot please God. So the ability to live by faith is to see beyond the obvious profit. If you are going to be fighting for the obvious gain, and the obvious gain is that you have people who are bringing tithes, you have building, everything that is already secure, which is giving you some gain.
Right.
If that is your faith, if that is what you are relying on, it means you are relying on the arms of flesh. And the Bible says, woe unto him that makes flesh his strength or his support or his trust. So if your trust is in things that you see, then you are not trusting in things that you don't see. So to really walk with God is to be seeing God, the invisible, because God himself is not seen. So if you are really walking with him, who is invisible, it means that is what orients, that's what guides your decisions in every other area, because you are used to walking with the God that is invisible. So that is the reality you are walking in. And the reality of the invisible is even more real for you than these other visible things, because all the visible things will be seen as temporary to you.
That's right.
Because to walk with God himself means to always walk in the invisible realm, to always believe and be judged and be making decisions and judgments based on that invisible God that you are, nobody else is seeing but you. So that means you are walking on water all the time. So you are not even depending on the things that are here anyway. So you don't even lose anything. You don't even know that you passed them by or you let them go.